Well, good afternoon, everybody. Pastor Scott here. It is Saturday afternoon when I'm recording this video is your devotional reflection for your devotionals for Church at Work, Week 6, the topic being community. And I'm going to just go ahead and dive right in because this first text is just so deep and so profound. I want to go ahead and get into it so that I can keep the video as short as possible. But John 17:24, right at the end of Jesus' high priestly prayer, he says, "Father, I desire that they also whom you have given me," that is Christians, whom the Father gives to Jesus, a theme throughout all of Jesus' teaching in John, "may be with me where I am," seems like in eternity, "to see my glory that you've given me because you loved me before the foundation of the world." So the question is, what does Jesus say that he shared with the Father in eternity before the foundation of the world? Love. And so the second question that I put here really is a rhetorical question because that verse, I think, answers the question: is God's love eternal, or did he have to create something in order to have something to love? Clearly, according to Jesus' teaching, there wasn't, nothing needed to be created in order for God to have something to love. For the Father and the Son were always in this loving relationship with one another in the triune Godhead, in Father and Son, and through the Spirit in the eternal relations of origin, meaning that he's happy and that nothing else that exists is necessary. This world is not necessary. I'm not necessary. The stars are not necessary. Nothing is necessary, but everything is created by grace. God alone is necessary, and God alone is pure being, pure act. And he's happy in himself. He doesn't need us in order to be joyful. And that's why Paul can preach in Acts 17 that he doesn't need anything from us, but he gives to mankind life and breath and everything. You might wonder why that matters. I think it has profound implications for how we think about his posture toward us as his people, as those who are his beloved. And I just was thinking about this this morning as I was reading in my devotionals in Ephesians, because I'm in Ephesians right now with the 8th grade class at the school. Ephesians 1 talks about how he chose us in Christ before the foundation of the world, and in love he predestined us. So eternal love. And then in chapter 2, so that was Ephesians 1 and Ephesians 2, God, rich in mercy, when we were dead in our trespasses and sins, because of the great love with which he loved us, he made us alive with Christ and raised us up and seated us with him. So eternal love, seen in that he brought us from death to life, raising us up with Christ by grace through faith. And then therefore in chapter 3, Paul says, I pray that you would be able to comprehend the breadth and length and height and depth and know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge. So it's this Trinitarian love in eternity that's shown to us in the fact that he raised us up by grace through faith. And Paul says, I pray that you would know this love that surpasses knowledge. You would know it, that even though it's beyond knowledge, that you would just continue to expand in your knowledge of God's Trinitarian love. The implication is that if he loved us even when we were sinners, and Christ died for us when we were enemies, and if he loved us then, that means he's going to continue to love us now, and we don't have anything to worry about with his stopping loving us. He always has, and he always will, because he chose us in Christ before the foundation of the world, whom he loved before the foundation of the world. Anyway, that's enough about that. There's so much more that could be said. I could just talk about it for forever, as you know. But Galatians 6, 1-3, those verses that talk about if somebody's caught in a sin, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. And so therefore, how does bearing with one another's burdens in the church fulfill the law of Christ? This concept of the law of Christ comes up elsewhere in the New Testament as well. 1 Corinthians 9:21 has Paul talking about how we're not under the law of Moses, but we're under the law of Christ. And what he talks about in these verses, being under the law, he says, to those outside the law, I became as one outside the law, that I might win those outside of the law. To the weak I became weak, I become all things to all people, so that I might win some. The law of Christ is love within community, redeeming love, saving love that outpours and gives of oneself for the sake of Christ and for the sake of loving other people truly. And that is the law of Christ, in the sense that Jesus said to his disciples, this is a new command, that you love one another. And Paul saw it not only in church life in Galatians 6, but also in ministry, seeking to bring other people into church life in 1 Corinthians 9. It fulfills the law of Christ because it embodies him and reflects him in profound ways. And so the question that I have to ask myself in reflection is, who is a burden to me? Who might be burdening me, and how can I serve them better than I have? Because I have to bear with one another's burdens, other people's burdens, and only in that way do I truly live like Christ, is when I'm willing to give in fellowship, in relationships that I don't really see that I'm getting anything from it. So I have to ask that question if I want to truly be like Christ. And finally, Exodus 19:5-6, and then 1 Peter 2:9-10, all the way back in Exodus. This is God right after Israel comes out of the wilderness, comes out of Egypt and slavery, and comes through the Red Sea. He says, if you'll indeed obey my voice and keep my commandment, or my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all peoples, for all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. So if you obey, you will be to me a kingdom of priests. When you get to 1 Peter 2, a pertinent cross-reference to that, I think you see the gospel put on display really, really clearly here. In 1 Peter 2, Peter says, you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, to proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. And so you notice, kingdom of priest is the theme in common. In Exodus, it's if you obey, you'll be a kingdom of priests. But in 1 Peter, it's you are a kingdom of priests. So what's changed? Well, it's very simple what's changed. Christ is the obedient Israelite on our behalf. He obeyed on our behalf. And because of that, what used to be an if is now a definite. If you'll obey, you'll be a kingdom of priests. Jesus obeyed. I trust in him, and by faith, I am a kingdom of priests, as he is the light that lives in me. Jesus is the one, therefore, who makes us, as I put there on your a little underline for you to fill out, who makes us a people, a kingdom of priests, and a family with God in his household. So hopefully this is helpful to you. Hopefully this gives you the foundation for true community. It's eternal love that helps me love other people, bear their burdens, and be a part of a kingdom of priests with them in Christ and for Christ. So hope this is a blessing to you. Lord bless you. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.